Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today at this Shaping the Future in the Digital Age Financial Services Outlook webinar hosted by Vietcetera, AIA Life Insurance Vietnam, and McKinsey and Company. We're going to start off with a spotlight with Mr. Wayne Besant. He's the CEO of AIU Vietnam. He's going to be introducing about how a century-old business can help people live healthier, longer, and better lives in the digital world.
AIA is the world's largest life insurance company. So we're a big company. We've been around for over 100 years. The strength of a company over many years, we've seen many crises, we've seen many challenges, we've seen more than one pandemic. Not only have we grown and got stronger, but we've been very resilient. Like I say, most of the countries have very low insurance penetration. So there's an opportunity for us to not just grow our share and grow our business, but also to make a difference in the countries that we're in. AIA has a customer proposition which is all around healthier, longer, better lives. For Vietnam, it really means we've got a vitality focus in everything we do. So it starts with our staff. We encourage our staff here in Vietnam. We encourage gym memberships, healthy living, both exercise and diet. So we're looking at that whole proposition around healthier, longer, better lives as our core essence here in Vietnam.
What is AIU Vietnam providing to its customers and partners exactly to showcase that it's really focused on digital and adapting to this?
So everything we do on the digital space has to enhance the customer experience of our customers and with the partners. It's all about making sure that what we focus on is around the customer. So seamless, simple, relevant, and transparent. So an example would be our Vitality app that we're bringing out next year. And Vitality is about rewarding our customers through lower insurance premiums, but encouraging our customers to take on healthier, longer, better lives. And so it's a personalized program that helps around physical health, that helps around mental health and well-being, with a number of add-on features that provides motivation.
You mentioned Vitality, the app, and all these other ways to engage. In the coming years, what else beyond that can we expect?
I believe there's going to be more integrated solutions for customers. There'll be less about ownership in specific territories with customers. Customers will be looking at ways to integrate their experience in a much more simple way. And so that's why the end-to-end fulfillment part for insurance companies is really important. You've got to have all of the touch points for the customer, whether that's from the initial application to taking the policy, right through to the claim and the fulfillment part of the proposition as well. All of that needs to be integrated and digital. And it's got to be simple and very, very easy to use for all customers. The ongoing opportunity and challenges for companies in this industry is to make sure that the customer experience is at the heart of everything that we do. Those customers that remain relevant, that adapt, that are resilient, and provide customer-centric solutions are the ones that continue to win in the market.
The guest that we have here today, his name is Bruce Delteil. He's the managing partner of McKinsey. McKinsey, if you don't know what this company is, it's a consulting firm. It's one of the largest, if not the largest actually, in the world. Bruce leads the Vietnam team. They do a lot of different work across banking, insurance, tech companies. Bruce's topic will be about digital ecosystems for insurance and financial companies in Vietnam, so the intersection of the two.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again. So my name is Bruce. So first of all, what is an ecosystem, and what is the definition of an ecosystem? I mean, we hear this word all the time, but it's pretty much an interconnected, aggregated value proposition which serve a holistic purpose. If I am about to buy a house and I have everything related to housing, which we call the housing ecosystem, it is very likely that there will be things related to construction companies, financing companies, to legal support through design, architecture, and so on and so forth. But the ability to build all this as one value proposition and leveraging digital technologies to have that seamless integration is what we call ecosystem. Why would any company go into ecosystem? Because it's the future of value propositions. So it's the future of every business model across any industry. First of all, it decreases the cost of customer acquisitions because you actually get your customers on existing platforms or on platforms that you build yourself, rather than having a number of physical steps between you and the customers. It is giving you loads and loads of data. And let's remember that in this case, data is actually value. It increases your relationship with customers that are telling you exactly in real time what they want. And then you get more innovative in the products and services that you define. We tend to define 3 approaches for any companies, and that applies to Vietnamese companies. So what should I do? Number 1 is you could decide to just participate in an ecosystem. So since we're talking about financial services here, a bank, for example, since we've got friends from Momo on this, putting financial services on a new wallet, it's actually participating into a new wallet or a payment ecosystem. So that's participate. Participate is great. It gives you that instant new customer base that you may not have had access to without that platform. The third part is kind of the same thing. It's actually building it from scratch, because some of the partners or the players of that ecosystem would not be necessarily available right away. If we move to Vietnam, ecosystems are happening in Vietnam the same way they are happening in other countries. But we believe that we are still in the initial phase. But growth is happening. It means that everybody is actually going to request and require to have value propositions defined by ecosystems moving forward. It's all about companies adopting an ecosystem mindset and not think within the boundaries of sectors. Number 2 is, if data is value, then follow the data. Which platforms will give you the most data, the most transaction, the most to play with? And then last point, more from an enabling perspective, is talent. Because if it's all about digital enablement, digital design, leverage of data, by just saying these 3 things, I've mentioned 3 big roles in digital: designers, data scientists, and then technologists. It is likely that there will be a war for talents moving forward, and that needs to be planned properly.
Moving forward, folks, we're going to get to the last part of today's webinar, which was a panel discussion. Bruce is going to join us again for this discussion. We have Wayne. We have 2 new guests that you haven't seen yet. Manisha Shah, she's the CFO of Momo, the e-wallet company that most of you probably use. And then we also have Winnie Wong. She's the country manager of MasterCard. Manisha, aside from there being more people that can use these products, what are the main barriers of adoption for particularly SMEs, the small and medium businesses that make up such a large portion of the economy, from adopting these payment technologies?
I think awareness and education, is always a challenge for users and merchants. It took Momo 9 years until the end of 2016 for us to get our first million registered users. In the subsequent 5 years, from 2016 to 2021, we are now 29 million registered users. So there is a network effect. There's increased digitalization. There's increased smartphone penetration. So when it starts to ramp up, it ramps up very, very fast. On the SMEs, the long tail of SMEs is potentially the hardest nut to crack. And what we observe is that, really, they are very rational entrepreneurs. The challenges that they face is that, particularly in the last 2 years, with the uncertainties related to COVID, they have lack of human resources, right? So their small team is focused on customers and sales. They have, on the offline side, a very limited understanding on the digital know-how. They don't have the time to invest to learn. Finally, in the last 2 years, but potentially also more than that, a lot of them live in survival mode. So they think short term. Momo's biggest competitors always cash, right? And so what we focused very deeply in the last 2 years was trying to create a product where the mindset of a merchant on digital payments shifts from being a 1% cost to a creator of value, right? So how do we create a value proposition for the merchant where he's like, oh, actually, I want to use Momo?
Winnie, same question to you. Adoption of SMEs, what's the challenge there for you from your perspective?
With the pandemic, we've seen the growth of cashless, also because we're all forced. And we see that this will definitely continue. Like I said, pandemic has moved them to start thinking differently, because anyone who didn't go online, at least in the last 5 months, would probably have really, really suffered. So definitely now there's a lot more acceptance, a lot more curiosity, probably, and openness in SMEs to try to figure out, okay, now I think I got to do something about online now and not just about offline. I got to do something about cashless now, not just about cash. Going cashless or going digital helps with liquidity and helps with them getting financing. Because everybody's talking about, banks don't want to lend to me. It's so hard to get financing and this and that. While it's true on one end, on the other hand, it's also very difficult for banks and licensed lenders to really make the right credit underwriting for lack of data. Today, a lot of SMEs use manual, paper-based so-called accounting. And so how do you expect a bank to lend when they are not sure whether the data can be trusted? By going cashless, the data is all there. The transparency is there.
The next question I have is for Bruce. We're all in financial services. There's a lot of talk about how digital transformation will automate processes, give more data, whatever it may be, to increase efficiencies. And that may lead to redundancies, may lead to jobs being shifted to other teams and roles and maybe not being necessary. Bruce, what are your thoughts about how, for those folks that are working in financial industries, how do they maintain their competitive edge? How do they ensure that their roles within this new digital ecosystem remains relevant, but also optimistic and promising?
Most studies are very clear about the fact that technology over the next few years won't destroy jobs, but will just require a reskilling. When a bank transforms digitally, that's not only the digital platform, but obviously the more transactions are done digitally, the less branches become relevant. Then if you think of the old setup of a branch with tellers and then RMs and so on, where we see this kind of positions actually evolving into what we call universal bankers. So universal bankers are actually the ones that will be able to do transactions only when they are needed, but will have an overall view of the financial situation of any working customers and will be able to start building a bit of a wealth trajectory for their customers, a little bit like RMs would be doing with that dual role. And that's exactly reskilling, because we would need tellers or other branch staff to actually be able to do that. And it becomes easier to make that reskilling happen simply because a lot is actually digital enabled as well. So the tools are enabled and the scripts are digitally enabled, and it doesn't take too long based on what we've seen for that shift to happen. And as you can see, technology leads to different jobs, but are not eliminating the jobs and what humans will need to be doing moving forward.
Wayne, you're in a very unique role at AIU Vietnam, where you have these Nest by AIAs. They look very tech friendly, super innovative spaces. Just spatial design is phenomenal in itself. How do you guys balance the interests between these selling insurance directly to consumers, retail and in physical spaces, versus a more digital approach? How do you guys balance that, and where do you see that going?
So I think we've got to make sure that whatever we do, we've got the customer at the central part of everything that we're doing. We already have a lot of digital tools that our agents are using, and so it's been a blend of the face-to-face connection, as well as adopting the really good digital enablement. What the whole tech and data analytics is going to give us is the ability to reach a whole bunch of customers that maybe we might not have been able to reach. Insurance in particular, we have a very low take-up of life insurance in Vietnam. It's one of the smallest penetrations in Asia. So there's a real opportunity for us to enhance all around the customer service, all around simplicity, relevancy, transparency, using digitally enabled tools to reach a whole lot more customers that we're unable to reach maybe prior to this. I think people are a lot more aware now as well. They're looking for ways of fulfilling their need through a very seamless transaction. So, we talk about ecosystems. We talk about a lot of companies, organizations working closely together and making sure that there's that sort of that value add to that customer.
All these players, for the three of you especially, directly in financial services, there's a lot of competition, and you got to find ways to stand out through the customer experience and whatever. In your opinion, Misha, who will survive and why?
What are the two things that make people use an e-wallet? One is top of mind. Two is trust. The trust in Vietnam is critical. And as more people start using it, as more companies start offering it, it becomes easier. Company or the platform that will survive, right, is the one actually that creates value for consumers, right? So that comes from providing more services. The last thing is that people pay for product, right? You can come in and give a lot of discounts, but at the end, if you don't have a beautiful user experience, people are not sticking around. All companies, but the ones that survive will have to be able to provide that.
At the end of the day, it's about consumer needs. It's about evolving with the consumer needs. So how do we make sure that we serve our end customers through our banks and FIs and partners and fintechs, just staying ahead of the curve and innovation and keeping the consumer needs, consumer wants always at the focus of what we do.
Thank you very much for your time, Winnie, Manisha, Wayne, Bruce. It's been very generous of the four of you to share these insightful notes, and hopefully this is a webinar that will build the next ecosystem, great ecosystem of Vietnam. Thank you so much, and see you guys next time.